Well, every week in our finding traction groups, we have our guys do a check-in. And one of the things that we talk about in our check-in is our active commitments. Guys walk through, this is what I did to take care of my physical body. This is what I did to take care of my spiritual needs, my relational needs. And finally, we look at this area of passion. What did you do this week that you were passionate about, that you enjoyed? Now, recently, I have been rethinking my emphasis on challenging men to find new passions. In the past, and really up to now, I've seen it as an essential part of recovery. But I'm actually starting to rethink that. Well, why is that, you say? Why would I be rethinking the area of passions? Because doesn't it seem so self-evident and necessary for us in our recovery? Well, I'm not so sure anymore. I mean, is it just that Vern is being a contrarian, in this case, a contrarian with himself? Or is there something deeper to consider when we're thinking about the emphasis we place on finding your passion? Today, on Finding Traction, we take a deeper dive into that topic. Welcome aboard.
Guys ready?
When it comes to porn, are you stuck, spinning out, or slipping backwards in your life? If so, then welcome to the Finding Traction podcast, a show dedicated to those who are looking to gain recovery momentum away from porn and toward the life and relationships they have always hoped for. Now, here's your host, Vern Tomke.
Well, if you're new to the Finding Traction podcast, let me say it's great to have you here. I'd love it if you would rate the podcast or leave a review, or even better, pass it on to somebody who may not have heard about it. One of the things that I have created for guys is a free Circle sign-in system that you can sign in to my Circle learning platform and get access to a whole raft of recovery documents, recovery tools, things to help you as you begin to navigate away from a life of porn into a much, much better life. So you will see on the show notes that there is a sign-up link there, whether or not you're using a mobile device or something like your computer. Let me also say on that Circle platform, you will get information on our 1-year Finding Traction course. It's a 52-week video course that you can use to guide your time away and guide your efforts away from compulsive porn use. You can do it on your own. You can do it with a group of guys or maybe one or two other guys, or even better, perhaps you can look at joining me. I take guys through the Finding Traction course. I have a number of groups going, and on that platform, you can also get information on the Circle learning platform and our Finding Traction groups. If for that or any other reason interest you around recovery, I'd love to hear from you. One of the things I like to do is meet new guys. We can set up a free Zoom call and you can share a little bit more about your journey, and we can talk about, is there ways that maybe my story can intersect with your story. And the best way to get a hold of me is by emailing me at bandofbrothers.care, care@gmail.com. All right, well, let's get into this pushback around the area of finding your passions. I guess I kind of got challenged in this with an interview I heard recently by Anna Lemke, the author of Dopamine Nation. The interview was a couple years old, but it got me thinking about the emphasis we put on replacing your porn passions with new, more positive passions. Now, first of all, the idea of developing new porn-free passions isn't a bad thing. I think it's a great thing if it's part of a healthy self-care regimen. So there's nothing bad, and I'm not suggesting there's anything bad about finding things or doing things that you enjoy. But here is what I've noticed. When I go through and guys go through their active commitment check-ins, many of them have a really difficult time with coming up with something they're passionate about. Now, some cheat and break the rule I gave, which tells them it has to be a non-work related passion. Now, some of you know who I'm talking about. And they're saying, well, I know this kind of breaks the rules, but I really love my work. And so, we have that discussion. But why is it so difficult for men to identify or develop their passions? And I guess what comes to my mind is the challenge that I put in front of guys is to say, I would like you to find something that you really anticipate, that you look forward to. And then maybe I even raise the bar and say, I want you to find something that you get lost in, where time flies. And, again, so the bar that maybe I have used is really high. And most of them think, the only thing that really meets that criterion is my bouts with porn. And here's the problem. Many guys, nothing rings their bell. Nothing gives them the large amounts of dopamine that flooded their bodies when they were engaged with porn. And now they're left looking for something, anything that rings their bell even a little bit. You can go back to an earlier episode on anhedonia, which is about this inability to experience pleasure or joy. And we're going to do a deep dive on dopamine in a later episode. I'm currently studying and reading about it and really want to do a good job of it. But the idea here is that our prolonged porn use, the excessive amounts of dopamine in our system, have left us in some sort of a dopamine deficit state. So now we're left feeling bored or even depressed. Nothing compares and everything pales in comparison to the effect that we got from our porn drug. Now we're stuck with this kind of perpetual nothing does it for me. And so one of the challenges with this whole idea of passion is it's just so hard for guys to identify things that they're passionate about. And sometimes they're left with this idea that I need to find some new focus, some new passion that will take away this feeling of restlessness. And I guess that can be a little bit misleading because life in so many ways is just not that exciting. One of the things Anna Lemke talks about is, compared to previous generations, we do have it so much better. Here we are sitting near the top of Maslow's hierarchy of needs going, where is my passion? Now, since most of us are not fighting off external enemies or gnawing hunger or overhead missiles, we're left with this idea of, gee, my life is fine, but it's not exciting because there's no saber-toothed tigers, coming at me today. And so many of the guys are left looking for something to be passionate about. Now, what is the solution that Anna Lemke, proposes? Now, some of you are going to immediately dismiss her solution because it really does sound patronizing, or even, what would be another word, parental. She would say this: instead of looking for something to be passionate about, look around you and ask, what needs to be done? And go ahead and put your hands to that. Huh? It almost reminds me, any of my brothers and sisters would know, my dad was a workaholic farmer before he had his midlife crisis. And the one thing you would never, ever say around my dad is, I am bored. Because if you ever said that around my dad, he would immediately find you some long chore to do out on the farm. And that sounds a little bit like what Anna's talking about here. Just look around, find out what needs to be done, and go ahead and do that. And you were thinking, gee, that does not sound very exciting at all. Where's the passion in that? But I've been thinking about this, and stick with me here. I think she might be onto something for a few reasons. Number one, our porn addictions have left us profoundly selfish, meeting our own needs over the needs or the pain it causes to others, right? And when we begin to ask this question, what needs to be done, we're not asking what's in it for me. We're really beginning to operate in the opposite spirit. Along with this, and I guess to add to that, what we're doing by asking that question is we're shifting the focus from us to others. And I think you probably have heard many times that when the focus is on us and our happiness and our excitement, the more elusive it proves to be. Third thing, I think she's onto something, because what she's doing, I think she's advocating a shift. And we're shifting the emphasis from what gives me passion or pleasure to what gives me purpose and meaning. So when I'm beginning to ask that question, looking around what needs to be done, I guess what I'm saying is, what can I do to bring value or be a blessing? It doesn't need to be grandiose or something huge. It's just something that needs to be done. Or in my words, something that brings meaning. And this is what people in recovery circles, if you've been around recovery circles or 12 steps groups, they're saying, you know what? I realize the more and more that it's not about me and my will and my pleasure and my enjoyment, but I am going to begin to turn my needs to looking around and helping other people. What can I do in this moment, this day, to improve my surroundings or help the people in my life? Purpose, meaning, as opposed to my passion. Anybody, of course, from a Christian worldview will probably remember that verse that talks about us being God's workmanship, prepared to do, we have been created to do good works prepared in advance. I mean, that's all about that idea, right? And I think it can be freeing to not have us continually searching for that perfect thing that will give us the right feeling to replace the feeling that we got from porn. Now, it sounds simple, right? But what does that look like? And I guess it can start simply when you say, look around what needs to be done. And it can go back to that episode I did on procrastination, where it may mean, well, clean up your surroundings, make your bed, clean up your workshop, do something that brings about a sense of order in your life. So I guess it could start with some sort of self-serving chore or thing that needs to be done. But I think it can very easily morph into, what can I do that brings joy or pleasure or just helps somebody else? I just did this today. Just before I did this podcast, I asked myself, and this is especially helpful when you're feeling wobbly or you're feeling tempted or you're experiencing cravings. Now, I wasn't experiencing that today, I did a couple days ago, but today I just tried that exercise. What could I do today that would help my wife to make her day a little bit easier? Now, I know she's teaching elementary school all day, and then after school today, she has one of her favorite things to do, not a staff meeting. She goes to so many meetings, drives her nuts. And so she's going to get home late. So I looked around, and one of those things is there were a number of dishes, those kind of dishes that the dishwasher just doesn't clean, or they're too sticky, or they're too big that just kind of get piled up that need to be hand washed. Well, that's what I did. Such a saint that I am. And I basically went through those dishes. I hand washed them. And when she gets home today, it's going to brighten her day. Maybe she'll get a dopamine rush. I don't know. But the thing is, I know I will have a good feeling when she gets home to see her eyes light up that that's not one more thing that she needs to do. So this whole idea, and especially paired when the idea of when you're feeling tempted or craving and you want to meet your needs, this whole idea is, you know what? I'm going to turn that inside out and actually begin to reach out. So maybe your dishes are all clean right now, but here's another idea. You say, you know what? I wonder who else in my group could use a call, or who else in my recovery network I could reach out to, not just for my needs, but maybe somebody else could use encouragement. One of the things I love in our Finding Traction WhatsApp groups is guys reach out, or sometimes guys say, hey guys, how's your day going? Anybody up for a call? Or just share something. They reach out to bring joy, pleasure, or just connection to somebody else. So those are some ideas where purpose and meaning replace some sort of sole focus on finding our passion. So I am going to, over time, begin to shift my focus when guys do their weekly check-ins. And instead of asking them, well, did you live out your passion this week? I'm going to ask them, what in your week gave you a sense of purpose, a sense of meaning, something where you contributed to the welfare of those around you? And I think that could be, and that will be, a helpful change. Now, I don't think it's wrong, and I think I'll still say, and did you do anything you enjoyed this week? Did you do anything that's coming up this week that you're looking forward to? But as we begin to press into this at the core level, my first question isn't going to be, are you living a good, passionate life? My first question will be, what are you doing? Are you living a good, meaningful, purposeful life? And for you, I don't know what that looks like, where you can expand your boundaries. I have a couple opportunities right now. I can't share yet, but they may come about where I put my hand to working with guys outside of my normal comfort zone. But for you, maybe it's helping men in recovery, or it's volunteering at a local food bank. Sounds like with the government shutdown in the States, that's going to be a real need. Maybe it's getting involved in a cause that's deeply meaningful for you. So, want to just throw that out there. Now I got to go back on the Circle Learning platform, and I've got to pull off that document and add to it or change it just so it fits with this new emphasis that I'd like to develop with my guys. So here's to a more meaningful, purposeful day. We'll see you next time.